Hey guys, tonight let's slow things down a little. Dim the lights, lower the volume on the world, put the phone face down if you can manage it, and get comfortable. Because tonight we're not watching empires rise or kings lose their heads. No crusades, no plagues, no dramatic horseback betrayals at dawn. Tonight we're doing something far more historically consistent. We're attending a family engagement party, which, if you really think about it, is just another long-running human tradition where people gather in one room to quietly resent each other under decorative lighting. So let's begin with Varity. Not a queen, not a duchess, not even someone with a title that people like to repeat. Just Varity. And the night her entire family learned something about her they technically could have known for years, if they had ever bothered to ask. The party was for her sister, Evelyn. Of course it was. Evelyn had always been that person, the kind of person who walked into a room and immediately rearranged the attention without touching anything. The lights felt brighter around her. The laughter came quicker. People leaned in when she spoke, even when she was saying absolutely nothing of importance. She was engaged now, to Daniel. Polished, successful, calm in that irritatingly balanced way that suggested he'd never panic texted anyone in his life. The venue was tasteful, soft music, gold accents, the kind of place where the chairs are uncomfortable on purpose just to remind you that elegance requires sacrifice. Varity arrived early, because of course she did. She always arrived early. Early meant useful. Early meant invisible productivity before the real people showed up. Within minutes, she was handed a bag of ice, then a stack of napkins, then asked if she could just keep an eye on the drinks table. And she did, quietly, competently, like she always had. No one asked how her drive was. No one asked how work was going. They rarely did. Work, in the family vocabulary, had already been decided for her. She works admin at the courthouse. That phrase had followed Varity for years. It was said casually, comfortably, like a well-worn nickname no one questioned anymore. Admin, courthouse, phones, paperwork. Something tidy, something small, something that didn't invite follow-up questions. And honestly, Varity had helped build that illusion, not because it was true, but because correcting it required energy and attention, and the kind of interest her family never seemed to have. Every time she tried to explain, eyes glazed. Someone nodded too early. Evelyn redirected the conversation back to herself. So Varity learned to compress her life into something easier to digest. Admin. At the courthouse. It kept the peace. Evelyn arrived fashionably late, of course. Radiant, perfectly timed. The room subtly reoriented itself toward her like a sunflower with better hair. Daniel followed, smiling politely, shaking hands, remembering names. He was good at this. Naturally good, which somehow made it worse. People congratulated them, admired the ring, listened to Evelyn recount the proposal with theatrical pauses and carefully curated humility. Varity stood near the counter, refilling ice, wiping condensation rings no one else noticed. At some point, Evelyn gestured vaguely in her direction. "Oh, that's my sister, Varity," she said. Then, with a laugh that landed just a little too neatly, "She works admin at the courthouse." There it was, the line. Polite nods followed. Someone said, "Oh, that's nice," which is what people say when they have no intention of asking anything else. Varity smiled, the practiced one, the small one. Inside, something tightened. Not anger, not surprise, just the familiar feeling of being reduced to a footnote in someone else's paragraph. She told herself it was fine. It always was. This was Evelyn's night. This was not the time to disrupt the established narrative. And honestly, the narrative had worked for years. At family dinners, Evelyn spoke, Varity listened. At holidays, Evelyn updated everyone on her promotions, her plans, her future. Varity passed the potatoes. The dynamic was old, comfortable, worn smooth by repetition. The only person who ever really looked at Varity during these moments was her cousin Lily, quiet Lily, who never interrupted but always met Verity's eyes, just for a second, as if to say, I see you, even if they don't. Back at the party, glasses clinked, laughter rose and fell. Someone asked Evelyn about wedding colors. And then something unexpected happened. Daniel turned toward Verity. Not vaguely, not politely, directly. So, he said gently, what exactly do you do at the courthouse? The question wasn't loud, it wasn't dramatic, but it landed like a dropped glass in a quiet room. Conversation slowed, then stopped. Every face, almost involuntarily, turned toward Verity. The silence was heavy, awkward, unscripted. This was not part of the plan. Verity felt her heartbeat in her throat, not because she didn't know the answer, but because she knew exactly how much the answer would change things. Years of choosing quiet pressed in all at once. She thought of every time she'd softened her words, every time she'd let someone else summarize her life incorrectly because it was easier than correcting them. She realized suddenly that her silence had never protected anyone else. It had only erased her. Evelyn's smile was tight now, alert, ready. The look said, don't. Daniel waited, not impatient, not distracted, just waiting. Verity took a breath, a real one, and she said a single word. Judge. It wasn't loud, it wasn't dramatic, but it changed the temperature of the room. Faces shifted, brows furrowed. Someone actually laughed, then stopped. Evelyn let out a sharp, brittle chuckle. Oh my God, she said, don't be ridiculous. But Daniel wasn't laughing. He was staring at Verity, carefully. Then slowly, something clicked. Oh, he said, I knew you looked familiar. The room leaned in without realizing it. You presided over our corporate settlement last year, he continued. You were very direct. Not unkind, not impressed, just factual. Verity nodded. I've been a judge for 3 years, she said calmly. I stopped correcting people. The silence deepened. Evelyn's face flushed. You let everyone believe you were just admin, she snapped, at my engagement party? Verity looked at her, really looked. I answered the question I was asked. No one ever asked anything else. Daniel frowned slightly. You never mentioned this, he said to Evelyn. Evelyn waved him off. That's not the point. But it was. It had always been the point. A chair scraped. Someone's grandmother, Verity's grandmother, cleared her throat. I always wondered, she said softly. You had that way about you. Evelyn's control was slipping now. You could feel it. She accused Verity of embarrassing her, of lying, of making everything about herself. Verity didn't raise her voice. I didn't make myself smaller, she said. You did. That landed harder than anything else. Evelyn left shortly after, abruptly. The room exhaled. Plates went untouched. Music kept playing, confused. Later, Verity's mother asked quietly, Why didn't you tell us? Verity answered just as quietly, You looked away. And for the first time that night, the silence felt honest. We'll pause here. Let the room settle. Let the tension fade into something softer. Because next, we'll see what happens the morning after the truth finally enters the family chat. So stay comfortable, stay still.